Where's the
Describing how it
diagram?
works.
Where's the diagram?
Do you need it? It's sat on top, and I thought it was just going to like fall off at some point. Right, I'll be back.
Thank you.
Could everyone start to take seats now, please? You're not? Really? Really? Is that working? I'll ask him to turn it up. Just want to do a quick mic check. Vidal 10 Massive at the back of the room. Can you hear me okay? Excellent. Good morning, everyone. Before I get started, just a quick disclaimer. I hope nobody's got an adverse reaction to a British accent, because unfortunately you've got me for the duration. I haven't got another narrator just to tag in halfway through. Again, good morning. Welcome to United States Air Force Academy Falcon Club, and thank you for joining us today as we celebrate Colonel Jack J.D. Fulmer II on this occasion of his retirement. I'm Squadron Leader James Daytrick, your narrator for this morning's event. A retirement ceremony is a time-honored tradition. It is a time to pause and acknowledge a career of dedicated service to this great country. Today marks the closure of a career spanning 30 years. The presiding official today is Lieutenant General William J. LeCurie, United States Space Force retired. As a reminder, during the playing of ruffles and flourishes, military members in uniform will face the Lieutenant General LeCurie at a position of attention. During the national anthem, military members will stand at attention, while civilian attendees place their hand over their heart. Please take a moment to silence all electronic devices. We're just waiting on the official party. Just in it. Please stand for the arrival of the official party, the playing of musical honours and singing the national anthem, followed by the invocation.
Mark time. Colors. Hold. Reset. Arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail, at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Arms, colors, colors turn, hearts.
Let's pray. Our great God and Father, we acknowledge you in this moment as we come here to celebrate Colonel Jack J. Fulmer. We come here full of gratitude for 30 years of service to our country, 3 commands, and the rank of colonel. Lord, he worked hard to earn this, but yet he will tell us, and we acknowledge that this is all a gift from you. And we are grateful for his family, for Trey, for Alex, for Megan, and especially for Liz. Jay Fulmer is a man of sacrifice and courage, but so are they people of courage. We thank you for their sacrifice and their courage for our country. Father, we thank you for what's next. We thank you for the undiscovered country that lies ahead of Jay now, where he will discover your faithfulness as he has discovered it in these 30 years. And in the midst of all this, may he glorify you. And Father, as we celebrate Jay in this moment, may you be pleased as well. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Honor Guard and the Air Force Academy Band for that beautiful rendition of the national anthem. And thank you for those inspirational words once again. Please be seated. So we are fortunate to have several honored guests with us today, and we extend a special welcome too. And please strap yourselves in. I've got quite a few people to get through. Colonel Fulmer's wife, Liz, his son, Trey, and future daughter-in-law, Kayla, his son, Alex, and significant other, Kaylee, and his daughter, Megan. Colonel Fulmer's mother, Mrs. Jan Fulmer, his father-in-law, Mark Coggin, and mother-in-law, who is joining us online, Charlotte Coggin. Colonel Fulmer's brother, Gavin Fulmer, his sister, Robin Jernigan, and her husband, Philip, and nieces, Brooklyn and London. Colonel Fulmer's aunt, Harriet McMillan, his sister-in-law, Beverly Benge, and her husband, Blake. Colonel Fulmer's brother-in-law, Mark Coggin, and his wife, Cassie, and their son, John David, and daughter, Faith. Liz's aunt and uncle, Susan and Rusty Foster, and her daughter, Becky Dedge. Liz's aunt, Peggy Wolf, and her husband, Philip. Liz's cousins, Jessica Simmons and Hayden Jones, and her fiance, Ian Snyder. Chaplain Doug and Debbie Sullivan. Special friends of Colonel Fulmer, Lieutenant Colonel Chris Baird, USAF retired. Jeff and Rebecca Eubanks, and Trey and Christine Cole. We also would like to extend a warm welcome to all the friends and family of Colonel Fulmer and Liz who are in attendance today, who I haven't mentioned, if anybody. However, I'm not done yet. We also have several distinguished guests attending this morning, so please welcome Lieutenant General Licuri's wife, Amy, the Deputy Commander of Space Training and Readiness Command, Brigadier General Matthew Cantori, the Senior Enlisted Leader, Space Training and Readiness Command, Chief Master Sergeant Carmen Pogue, ex-Del 10, I would like to add. The Command Senior Enlisted Leader, Jacob Simmons, can't be with us, but sends his apologies. The Commander, Space Delta 1, Colonel Kenneth Clock. The Command Team of Space Delta 10, Commander Colonel Shannon De Silva, and the Senior Enlisted Leader, Senior Master Sergeant Ryan Brown. Go Del 10. The Commander, Space Delta 11, Colonel Jay Steingold. The Command Team, I haven't seen them today. I'm going to say their names anyway, just in case they're somewhere in here. Space Delta 13, Commander Colonel Brian Dutcher, and Senior Enlisted Leader, Chief Master Sergeant Nicole Reynolds. The former Deputy Commander, Space Training and Readiness Command, Brigadier General Todd Moore, United States Space Force retired. And finally, if I haven't covered everybody, welcome all general officers, commanders, directors, chiefs, first sergeants, airmen, guardians, friends and family in attendance today. It is my great honor to introduce Lieutenant General William J. Licuri, United States Space Force retired.
It's great to be back in Colorado. I had no idea you could pack a room. Holy cow. I mean, this goes way back. Make sure you get a good look when you're standing up here. This goes way back. This says a lot about you and your career, for sure. Big day. We scored gorgeous Colorado weather for it. And you scored, I mean, he had to read for a good 3 minutes to get through all of the family that are here and friends, close friends. So thank you all for coming to join us, because this is the way a retirement should be celebrated, with close family and friends, co-workers from way back to just now. This is the way to do it. And we're going to celebrate this right for you, Jay. We got plenty of time to talk about Jay, but let's focus here in the front row for a second. To the folks that have known Jay the longest, before Liz and Jay met, before the kids came along, before any of us met Jay, thank you for the foundation that you set, because he's here because of that foundation and the work that and the love that all of you put in. Jay is an amazing individual, and that starts with all of you. To the kids, who now I have to look up at all three of them. It didn't used to be that way, but now I do. I think even if Megan took her heels off, I'd still have to look up at her. But you know, Trey, Alex, and Megan, we've known each other since 2013. What you guys do for your dad day in and day out is unbelievable. I don't think we ever started or ended a day, either the start of the day or the end of the day. He was talking about something you guys were doing, something you had done or something you were planning to do, which made it great for me, because we just got to kind of hang out as Bill and Jay before the mess of the day would hit, kind of thing, in multiple assignments. And so thank you for everything that you've done for your dad and letting him serve, because it's super appreciated, and it's great to see you guys again. Liz, talk about a special lady. You cannot have a conversation with Liz Fulmer, no matter if it's 10 seconds or 10 minutes, where you don't walk away with a huge smile and think, holy cow, this is going to be a good day, because Liz is here and she's in a good mood. She's always in a good mood. And she just makes you smile, genuinely makes you smile day in and day out. And, you know, you have been a saint for Jay, for sure, but for all of us. Again, we all met in 2013 at Schriever, during a special time at Schriever. We just had a great group of people. Liz has been involved from as long as I've known her, and I'm sure even before that, but in the neighborhood, doing things in the neighborhood as families would have life events. Liz was one of the first ones always to want to celebrate that the right way. I've been fortunate that Jay and I have worked together twice, and Liz has been part of the leadership team as what we used to call a key spouse. But just always coming to the office, coming to the squadron, being a part of the team, often coming to commanders calls and talking there. And so this is your day as much as Jay's. We're going to talk about him here in a little bit, but I didn't want this to go by without getting a chance to talk about all of you and to thank you guys. Jay and I had multiple conversations over the time that we've known each other as he's considering next steps. And front and center in every one of those conversations, I mean, every single one of those conversations was talking about you guys and how an opportunity for him would affect you guys. And it was always, hey, I'm going to go home. We're going to talk about this. And then I'll come back and we'll talk about it, kind of thing. And so every single one of them, to be honest, if you'd have put me on a betting path, I would have bet this might have happened sooner at somewhere along the way. But each time he would go talk to you guys, he would come back more energized and say, I'm in, let's go do this. We're in, let's go do this, kind of thing. And so it's been a special treat for Amy and I to know all of you. And the best part is retirement doesn't mean that you stop hanging out and talking. So we're looking forward to celebrating retirement for many years to come with you guys as well. All right, so now let's move to the man of the hour. First of all, Jay, thank you very, very much for asking me to do this. It's a treat. As you're retired, you get called out of the bullpen less and less, kind of thing. But I bet it was a year ago when Jay said, hey, I'm going to do a retirement. It's on this day. Can you make it and can you preside? I said, I don't know what's going on that day, but yes and yes, we'll be there. And so seems like time has flown. Maybe there were different days where it didn't seem like time was flying, but thank you again for asking me to do this. So Jay confided in me that at some point, emotions are going to get the better of him, kind of thing. So he kind of gave me free rein to help pull him out of whatever's there. Now, he's probably asking the most emotional guy in the room to do that. So, but it sounds like great minds think alike, Brian, because this morning, as I was thinking about how I was going to do this, now I heard you had an idea, but I actually had a slightly different twist on this. And Jay, you get to pick. It's your day, so you get to pick. We can either go with Roll Tide, or we can go with War Eagle, whichever one will get you out of it faster. You tell me, is that what we're going to do? Okay, all right. I didn't know which one would snap you out quicker, so I just figured I'd offer it. All right, so 30 years. I mean, that is a lot of time to do anything, but to serve your nation for 30 years and to do it faithfully and as a team. And every single place that Jay has ever been stationed is better after he has left because of his presence, because of what he pours into it. And that goes, a lot of you know most of Jay's career, a portion of it. Heck, I feel privileged. I've been a part of the last third, I guess. So in hockey terms, I was here for the third period, but it was quite a period for you. So, but we go way back. And so for the crowd that has known Jay the longest, but maybe doesn't know as much of the military side, because Jay strikes me a little bit similar to me. It's like, okay, I'm done with work. I'm going to go home and I'm not going to burden anybody at home with work stuff. We're going to talk about other things. So, but this man has done some incredible things over the course of 30 years, and this nation is better for it. So we're going to talk about it for a little bit here. Each of you will know pieces of this as we go. Now, do we happen to have anybody from Minot?
Yes, sir.
Do we?
Chris, Jack.
Okay, so we got folks that go all the way back. So Jay starts out in the ICBM career field. So picture this: we take a brand spanking new second lieutenant out of college. So there you go. All right, fair enough. I'm not going to make any of it. There's too many people here. I'm not going to comment on Alabama. I graduated high school there. All right. So, but and we put him in charge of this nation's most powerful weapon system, and probably even more importantly than that, it's our nation's strategic deterrent. The fact that we get to live in this country and do the things that we want to do is based on the fact that we have a strategic deterrent like our nuclear weapons that we hope to never use. We don't ever want to use them, but they're there for a reason. And so the responsibility that is thrust on a very young 20-something from Alabama to be responsible for those weapon systems is incredible. And Jay didn't just do that and serve 4 years and move on. Jay excelled there. Starts out like everybody as a deputy, but moves into being an instructor. That's where we take the people that are doing really well and say, we need them to train the next group of 20 somethings who come in. And then moves on to become a crew commander there and then a flight commander. So he has did very, very well there. And again, it's just, it is something that not everyone has done, but it's an awesome responsibility. And Jay really, really did extremely well during that time. Then we take him and we put him actually in charge of a weapon system that is, I would say, equally as powerful, and that's our people. And we have Jay becoming an ROTC instructor. And so you play a little bit of parent, you play a little bit of Air Force steward, advocate, and certainly recruiter in that career field. So you get to go back to Alabama and do that. And clearly does very well. The numbers in the detachment there at Sanford have just grow during the time that Jay's there. And so he really, really knocks it out of the park there as well. Then he starts to branch out and move into this community that we all know and love on the space side of the house. And he has a couple assignments back to back. One here locally inside the mountain, down the way at Cheyenne Mountain. And then the other one at a little island called Diego Garcia. Now, in his records, it will describe this island as the most remote unit in Air Force Space Command, which sounds like, oh my God, we sent him to this awful, awful place. Well, this is one of the most beautiful islands that I've ever had the pleasure to set foot on. And he gets to run a unit there without his boss anywhere in sight. I mean, thousands of miles away. And sure, that has some challenges, but it's also very freeing. If anybody that's ever had a chance to be in charge of a geographically separated unit, it's your team, it's your facility. And so in both of those jobs, Cheyenne Mountain in there, Jay and his team are responsible for monitoring what's going on in space. On the Air Force side, when you monitor what's going on in the environment, you can see enemy planes out in front of you and things of that nature. The Army can see things in front of them. The Navy can see things out on the ocean in front of them. We cannot do that in our domain. We view everything through data. And that data comes to us from many, many different sensors. And Jay and his team are responsible for monitoring those sensors and figuring out what's going on in that environment that we can't see, and then keeping leadership apprised of what's going on. And I had to write a couple of these down because it's too good to pass up. During these two assignments, as Jay's looking to the heavens with the different sensors, we have NASA loses a telescope that they launch. And so Jay's team helps find the telescope out there. There is a Chinese manned space launch that happens. And one of the things that we do when either we launch or others, especially our adversaries, we pay close attention and we monitor as that rocket and that spaceship is going through space. We want to make sure it doesn't get anywhere near our satellites that are in space. So they do collision avoidance. It's a lot different than a traffic cop on the street kind of thing. You're doing it with sensors and things you can't necessarily see, but he does that for a Chinese manned space launch. We have, and this happens on occasion, it's never a good day, but we have a satellite of ours that breaks up on orbit. So it turns from one big piece into many little pieces. There's a lot of angst and the pucker factor goes up quite a bit because you're trying to pay attention, where are these pieces going? And there's many, many bosses here stateside that are like, Jay, what's going on? And, you know, there's a little bit of nerves that go with that. So there's some pretty big things that go on there. It's constantly, especially in Diego Garcia, based on geography and proximity to other countries that we really want to know what's going on when they put things in space. He's responsible for tracking adversary satellites and what are they doing and keeping our leadership back here apprised of it. And then a very close coordination with NASA, because while we certainly don't ever want one satellite to run into another, we definitely don't want to do anything like that with humans involved in. So NASA very much relies on then Air Force Space Command, now the Space Force, to help in that mission. And so Jay is front and center on a crew here in Cheyenne Mountain, and then leading a team in Diego Garcia for all of those things and make sure that people know exactly what's going on, and just does phenomenally well doing that. So then people, they get a look and they say, hey, this guy can monitor what's going on in the domain. He can keep leadership apprised. He can give recommendations on how to do things. So they said, we got a place for you. And they bring it to the Pentagon for the first time. Everybody loves the Pentagon. Well, not only that, Jay goes to the basement of the Pentagon and works crew. So he's not working a daytime job in the Pentagon like most of us did. He's on an ops crew, Matter of fact, we have multiple teams that are responsible. So he went from monitoring the space domain to now he's responsible for monitoring everything going on around the world in any domain. It doesn't matter what. And now, instead of advising just generals here in Space Command, if you can say that, now he's responsible for providing advice directly to Secretary of Defense, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, President, Secretary of State, and it's around the world. That team pulls shift and is responsible for monitoring and keeping track of world events and keeping our national leaders apprised of that so they can react and do the things they need to do in these events. And it sounds like it was a pretty busy time during those few years. We've got floods in Pakistan. We've got a disaster in Haiti, so disaster relief there. We've got one of probably, an unending number of crises on the Korean Peninsula that Jay's monitoring. Unfortunately, we had a shooting at Fort Hood down in Texas. That's an evolving situation where clearly everybody in the country is trying to figure out what's going on. That team's monitoring that. Russian missile launches during their conflict with the Georgia Republic, as what they were doing there. And so Jay's team, you can imagine, as that kind of a conflict is evolving, I mean, nobody knows where that's going to go. And the president has to make decisions on, where is this going? What should we be doing? What should we be doing with our allies? And so a very, very busy time in Washington, D.C., but to no surprise of anybody responsible for putting him there, he does very, very, very well, and excels at that. And so then we get to where now I start to meet Jay and the team here at Schriever back in 2013. And I don't know, you may or may not remember it, but for me, I won't forget it. Literally first week on the job, and it's a chance to get out onto the base. Now, I started my career, it was Falcon at the time, but I started my career there. But it'd been a long time since I had been there. And now we've got multiple groups we're responsible for. And so the best part about being a commander anywhere is just getting out and meeting people and doing those things. And so one of the first teams that I met during my time there was the 50th Operational Support Squadron. And so this team is responsible for all the training that goes on for all of the individual squadrons on the base, and responsible for intelligence and keep people apprised what our adversaries are doing. But I meet this guy, Lieutenant Colonel at the time, Jay Fulmer, and he's the commander. And you can just, he is brimming with energy and can't wait to talk about the 50th OSS and put people in front of me and Chief Coles, who was our command chief, and just showcase what it is they do. But Jay is not one to pass up an opportunity either. You can tell immediately that there's going to be some asks or some things that are going to come as a part of, you like that? Do you really like that? Well, let me tell you what else we could do if, and you can see other people between me and Jay, organizationally get a little bit nervous, but Jay doesn't care. This is my opportunity. First week, the new boss is here. We've got an important mission and we need some resources. And so he goes on and on talking about the simulators that we have there, some of the things that they're trying to do. And so I get a laundry list as I leave the 50th OSS of things that we need to take care of. And as Levon and I were walking back, so Levon was the command chief at the time, as we're walking back to the office, both of us said, there's somebody that is passionate about what they do, and I'm damn glad they are on our team. And now let's figure out, how we get those resources, because we were both very confident that we were going to be in a better spot as a wing if we could get those types of things. And so the reality of what Jay was asking about, ironically enough, were things that he saw that we needed to evolve because of how the space domain was evolving. And so really a lot of it was leading edge of what all of you are working now as a separate service, that we need even more being a separate service, integrating intelligence with all of our operations. This is something that Jay saw back then, and something the chief of space operations, who's across town right now talking about this, I guarantee it, integrating intelligence with all of our other operations. Jay was on the leading edge of trying to push that at the wing, and we benefited from it. By the time we kind of wrapped up our time there, I think we had an intel professional in just about every ops squadron. And man, you could see a difference when those people doing operations understood really well what the adversary was doing. It makes a marked difference in what we do day in and day out. And those intel professionals, they're the ones responsible for tracking what the adversary is doing. And you can imagine that your training and your actual operations are light years further ahead if they're informed by actual intelligence of what's going on. And so every bit of training we did from at least the time that Jay was there and beyond was based on what's the threat out there. When Lieutenant LaQuarrie was flying satellites at Falcon way back when, if we had a problem, we just assumed, hey, it's a tough environment up there. We went through some electromagnetic charging, satellite got old. By the time that he's running the 50th OSS, we can't make those assumptions anymore, and he realizes it. And so it was just a treat to be there during that time. I see many other familiar faces of commanders that were there as a part of the 50th or as awesome tenants on the base. And so it was a special time. It was a special time because it was just a really close-knit community there as well. I kind of thought about it the other day, every day I would drive home and the crowd of kids that were out on the cul-de-sac or running around the neighborhood. I mean, we've got some in the Army now. We've got one flying planes for the Air Force now. We've got other folks here. Jay's kids, I would describe you guys as a part of the elder statesmen of the dependent crowd at the time. And so, they had their things that they were doing, and then the other kids were running around doing things, but it was just a treat to be there at that time and to really get to know all of you guys as well. And so then we both end up in DC. Jay goes for some schooling over there, and then goes to the J6. So working cyber issues, global positioning system, nuclear command and control, real small responsibility that he's working on these types of things. But during that time frame, I also remember I got one of many phone calls throughout the time after I knew Jay of, hey, sir, do you have a few minutes? Can we talk? They want to talk about career options and things of that nature. And at this point in time, I'm working at the White House. Jay is thinking he's going to be coming back to Colorado Springs and to work as a deputy division chief in our Air Force Space Command headquarters at Building 1. He says, what do you know about the job? What do you know about General Shaw? He's the person that's there working. So we had a really, really good conversation. I think by the time Jay was done, he's like, all right, this is going to be a great job. So he moves out to become the deputy at what we call A59. So requirements, international partnering. I saw your fist when London was announced.
There'll be a few
very
fists
well
today,
done,
so
yeah.
yeah.
So concepts, doctrine, you name it, analysis, lessons learned. I see folks back that way. And so little did either one of us know when we were having that phone call, God's honest truth, that's where I was going to end up about 6-7 months later as I kind of took General Shaw's place. So we got to work together again. It was kind of a funny reacquaintance as I got back into the building, and we both sort of reminisced about that phone call. But it was a treat there. Liz, again, just totally involved with our team there. And we had a great team across the entire division working on critically important things. We had a really fun front office. I can see at least one. I know there's got to be others in here, but one of the things that I always talk with my front offices about, I said, all right, so the front office is everybody's first impression of the organization. And I said, so we certainly want to be professional, but we don't want to be this level of professional that like everybody walks in and they're nervous because you can't break anything. You don't step that way, so we want to find that right balance of professionalism, but we want to have fun because it's going to be some long hours. There's going to be some tough problems, and we want to enjoy that to the extent we can. And so Jay is not only a great commander in all these jobs that he was in, but you couldn't ask for more from a number two, from a deputy, because number one, you could disappear and the whole thing's going to keep running. And if he changes something, it's for a good reason and you're going to be in a good spot. But he also truly absorbs what it is that the commander's intent is, and that becomes his. And so, actually we had a great time in the front office, and anybody that came to visit knew we had a good time in the front office. And so, but I think we found that right balance, right? Where people came in, they had a warm welcome. They felt welcome. They could get what they needed, but they knew that we were also enjoying things. Every once in a while, every front office is different. This particular front office had an affinity for Nerf weapons. And so every once in a while, I'd be sitting at the desk and you'd see things flying across during a slow time of the afternoon or whatever. But I usually kept it in check in the right amount. But we did have one day where I don't remember who it was that came to visit me. It was either a local civic leader or one of our contractor partners, one of the senior leaders from the team. they came in and we had a closed door session. So kind of went in, and while the conversation's going on in the office, you can hear the commotion. I'll just say it that way, outside. And at one point, I'm not kidding you, somebody hits the door, and all right. So we finished up the meeting, but it kind of got quiet. So I was like, all right, Jay took care of things. He got things calmed down, and we're better off. So we get outside, and later that night, I'm talking to Shane actually, and I was like, what in the world is going on? And come to find out, it was actually Jay's body that hit the door. But it was still, it was one of those days where I'm sure it was high stress, needed to release a little pressure. Whoever was sitting with me actually was entertained by it at the time, but yeah, it was kind of funny that it ended up being Jay. And I think at one point, nobody got seriously hurt. We did all right, but it was a great time to be there as well. I'm going to launch now into Jay's current capacity and where a lot of these folks know him. So Jay and I had multiple conversations during the time there at 859 about when was the right time for Jay and Liz and the kids to retire. And like I said earlier, there were several conversations that, I mean, genuinely you could see he's torn, but you could see that, we're getting closer and closer to that time. Everybody talks about, when it's time. That we knew when it was time. And so there were a couple nights where he went home, and I knew that he was going to come back in and tell me, hey, we're going to, do a retirement at such a time. But every single time I don't know how the conversations go, but he'd say, hey, we talked about it. The other thing, so you guys are always front and center, but the other thing that was a part of every single one of those conversations, and Jay was never hid it, never afraid to talk about it, was their faith. I mean, they prayed on these decisions. And so, anyway, I was tickled pink each time that he came back and said, hey, I want to do some more. And then it was like, all right, let's find the right next thing for you to do. And when we create a new service, there's a lot of opportunities that open up. And so I was more than happy when he came back in and said, hey, we want to keep going and we want to do a little bit more, to be able to advocate for him to maybe have a chance to command again. And so as we stand up a service and we create these deltas out of whole cloth, basically, an opportunity presents itself. And if you ask me, you couldn't have picked a better person to lead the Delta 10 team in that mission from the very beginning, because Jay was steeped in everything that this team does. And so all of the things that he did throughout his career, a little stint as an Air Force Space Command requirements person before we worked together, doctrine, lessons learned, all the things that this team does critically for the Space Force, Jay had been doing it for a long time. And so how could we pick somebody better to lead this team? And so what it is that all of you have done on this team, some of you who are alums, was laid the foundation that every single service needs. This service was the first new service for the United States in over 70 years. And so all these other services who have all these things already have been doing it for years and years and years. We've got to create it from scratch, not quite scratch, because we do stand on the shoulders of many giants in our career field that were here beforehand. But now you've got to do it. You're in the major leagues as a service by yourself, because yes, it's cooperation, but there's a little bit cutthroat from other services and things. So you got to have your A game, and the types of things like doctrine and wargaming and international partnerships, lessons learned. The only way you get better as a service is to document where you've screwed up previously and figure out how you fix it, kind of thing, or document where you did something really well and double down on it. And that's what this team does day in and day out. So I couldn't have been happier to hear that Delta 10 was going to open up and that you guys were going to get a chance to do this again. Not everybody gets to command 3 times. That's a pretty cool deal and a privilege and a treat. And I'm sure he'll talk about that a little bit more, but there could not have been anybody better to stand up Delta 10. And so, holy cow, I'm out of breath. I'm almost out of energy when you talk about this amazing 30-year career, but this is a day to do that and to celebrate everything that all of you have done. And so with that, why don't we move on to the rest of this ceremony? I think you join me up here. We'll do a little award presentation and get on to the fun part. All right, let's see. They helped us out here.
Please all stand for the presentation of the Legion of Merit Medal. Attention to orders. The Legion of Merit First Oak Leaf Cluster is being awarded to Colonel Jack D. Fulmer II. Colonel Jack D. Fulmer II distinguished himself by exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as the first commander, Space Delta 10, Space Training and Readiness Command, United States Air Force Academy, Colorado, from the 21st of August 2021 to the 30th of November 2024. Colonel Fulmer's extraordinary leadership, astute vision, and daring initiative led directly to Space Delta 10's establishment, chartered to tackle the Space Force's most critical intellectual problems by integrating doctrine, tactics, concepts, lessons learnt, and wargaming into one unit. He oversaw the establishment of 2 squadrons and 2 operating locations within the Delta, while simultaneously guiding it through multiple 3-star concepts, development summits, and the inaugural Tactics Development Conference, highlighting to senior leaders the accomplishments of new development processes. Colonel Fulmer laid the framework for the Delta's transition from Colorado, completing the design process and funding for the renovation of a $5 million facility, ensuring the Delta's move to Patrick Space Force Base, Florida. Finally, he led the Chief of Space Operations host history of a wargame capstone, driving 417 whole of government personnel with 7 partner nations for a series of 7 planning events, culminating in its flawless execution. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Fulmer culminate in a long and distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Space Force.
Oh, here's where it starts.
Please,
Publish the order.
Please remain standing for the reading of the retirement orders.
Publish the order.
Attention to orders. Special Order AL-000702, effective 30th November 2024. You are relieved from active duty, organization, and station of assignment, retired effective 1st of December 2024 per AFI 36-3203 in the grade of Colonel. Please be seated.
I think we're going to stand up for a little bit.
At this time, Lieutenant General Licuri will present Colonel Fulmer the certificate of retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America, which honors him for 30 years of dedicated service. It reads, "To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Colonel Jack J.D. Fulmer II, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from United States Space Force on the 1st day of December 2024. Signed by Major General Tim Shaber, Space Training and Readiness Command, United States Space Force." At this time, the Air Force Academy Honor Guard will perform a flag folding ceremony. For more than 200 years, the American flag has been the symbol of this nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June the 14th, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union being 13 stars, white in a blue field representing a new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and design of the flag evolved into the flag presented before you today. The 13 horizontal stripes represent the original 13 colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardness and valor, white signifies purity and innocence, and blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Traditionally, a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom and inspired Americans both at home and abroad. I've definitely been stitched up on this next paragraph. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the stars and stripes waving after the British shelling of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Bellamy to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous flag salute and patriotic oath. In July 1969, the American flag was flown in space when Neil Armstrong planted it on the surface of the moon. Today, this flag flies on constellations of Air Force satellites that circle our globe and on the thin flash of our aircraft in harm's way in every corner of the world. Indeed, it flies in the heart of every airman who serves this great nation. The sun never sets on the United States Air Force, nor on the flag we so proudly cherish. Since 1776, no generation of Americans has been spared the responsibility of defending freedom. Today's airmen remain committed to preserving the freedom that others won for us for generations to come. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show respect to the flag and express our gratitude to those individuals who fought and continue to fight for freedom at home and abroad. Since the dawn of the 20th century, airmen have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict on lands and skies around the world. It is their responsibility, our responsibility, to continue to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we all enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and all. Long may it wave. Thank you to the honor God. At this time, Colonel Fulmer will be given his retirement pin. Liz, please come forward and place a retirement pin on your husband's lapel. Lieutenant General Licuri will now present Colonel Fulmer a certificate of appreciation from the President of the United States, which reads: I extend my personal gratitude and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation to you for your patriotic service to our country. Your bravery and dedication in our armed forces helped protect your fellow Americans during a critical moment in our history and contributed to a world of greater security and growing prosperity. The devotion to duty, honor, and country, in keeping with the long traditions of the finest military in the world, embodied the American ideal of selfless service. Our nation owes you an incredible debt. Your commitment and the example you set will inspire future generations to serve with pride and to keep our country secure. You represent the best of our nation, and I join our fellow Americans in saluting your honorable service. I wish you happiness and success in your next chapter. Signed, Joseph R. Biden, Commander-in-Chief. Colonel Fulmer has also received certificates of appreciation from former presidents George W. Bush and Donald Trump. Lieutenant General Licuri will now present Colonel Fulmer with a certificate of appreciation from the Chief Master Sergeant of the Space Force, which reads: I'm proud to join your friends and family in congratulating you on your retirement from the United States Space Force. The achievements and contributions you have made throughout your career are indicative of the core values of our great service. Your retirement is well deserved, but your selfless contributions will be sorely missed. On behalf of all Guardians, thank you for your faithful and devoted service to our nation. As this chapter in your life closes, a new one begins. I hope the years ahead are filled with more great memories and continued success. Signed, John Bentavenia, the Chief Master Sergeant of the Space Force, United States Space Force. I put an accent over his last name. I probably still mispronounced it. So at this time, Lieutenant General Licuri will present Mrs. Liz Fulmer with a certificate of appreciation from the Chief of Space Operations, United States Space Force. It reads: in grateful appreciation, the United States Space Force presents a certificate of recognition to Elizabeth Fulmer for the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to the nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service. Signed by General Saltzman, Chief of Space Operations, United States Space Force. Lieutenant General Licuri will now present Elizabeth Fulmer a certificate of appreciation from a senior enlisted advisor, United States Space Force, which reads: on behalf of all Space Force airmen and their families, the enlisted leader of the Space Force presents this certificate of appreciation to Mrs. Elizabeth Fulmer. I join your spouse, family, and friends in thanking you for the contribution you made in support of our United States Space Force. Signed by John B9, United States Space Force. Public Service Award. Public Service Award. Give that to the Lieutenant General. Lieutenant General Licuri will now present Elizabeth Fulmer the Public Service Award from the Department of the Air Force. In recognition of Mrs. Elizabeth Cogging Fulmer's outstanding service to the families of numerous Air Force, Space Force, joint and combined military organizations culminating at Space Delta 10, United States Air Force Academy. Over the course of 28 years, Mrs. Fulmer demonstrated service before self by leading as a commander's key support program mentor. After being selected by the Chief of Space Operations to serve as the S-59 key spouse, Mrs. Fulmer oversaw the transition of the program for an entire service as Air Force Space Command gave way to the United States Space Force. She then served as the Space Delta 10 mentor, where she stood up its booster club and enabled 6 Delta level events for 70+ Guardians and families. The distinctive accomplishments of Mrs. Fulmer reflect great credit upon herself and the Department of the Air Force. Lieutenant General LeCurie will now present the Fulmer children with certificates of appreciation. Let's go. The certificate reads, in grateful appreciation, Space Training and Readiness Command presents this certificate of recognition to Jack, Matthew, and Margaret Fulmer. During the years of your life, you have made sacrifices and you have served your country as much as your dad. You quietly shouldered the heavy burden that you were asked to carry. You were then, as now, one of the most important parts of your dad's career, and it was your love and support that enabled him to continue to do his job. In spite of the missed holidays, special occasions, and many moves throughout the years, your resilience and self-confidence gave him strength. We thank you for your continued love and support of your father throughout his career, given this 6th day of September 2024. The executive officers who have served under Colonel Fulmer, Major Schneider, Captain Rivera, and Captain Newland will now present him with a Delta 10 pennant.
It's a delicate dance. It has been an absolute honor and privilege for us, and speaking on behalf of all the Guardians of Delta 10, as the inaugural commander, we wanted to make sure you had a piece of it to take with you. And so there's a pennant in here as well as patches representing the Delta, the Queen of the Delta, and the 4 that represent the 2 squadrons and 2 OLs. All of it stood up under Colonel Fulmer. And so all of us are just extremely grateful for the mentorship, leadership you've provided, and we just hope to carry it forward with us wherever we go. Thank you, sir.
Colonel Fulmer's children, Trey, Alex, and Megan, will now present a shadow box to him, apparently. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to introduce Colonel Jack J. Fulmer II, United States Space Force, retired.
Thank you. So most of you know I have a pretty loud voice and it's hard to miss me, but we've got several folks that are on Zoom and I want to make sure that they're able to hear them. We've got stuff mic'd in. So, you know, these things do not come together on their own. And so I want to up front just take an opportunity to thank those that for the last 6 months, in reality, a little bit longer, who have been working tirelessly to make this happen. So Tech Sergeant Hunter Christensen, who I asked quite some time ago if he'd lead the effort. He's like, sir, I got it. I'm on it. I've never done it before, but we'll figure it out. So and he assembled a wonderful team with Sergeant Jamie Clark, Tech Sergeant Lee, Sergeant Rankin, and I cannot thank you guys enough for all that you have done to help make this wonderful ceremony for my family and I a reality. I want to thank Captain Alexa Newland, who has been working with me. Yeah, I left Delta 10 Command back on the 7th, and Shannon DeSilva took over. But unfortunately, she was not able to wash her hands of me because I had to out process, right? I hadn't done anything prior to change of command, or very little. And Alexa helped me get out process, not only from the Delta, but from the military. She was constantly communicating with me on different things, whether it's the Legion of Merit getting approved, or if it was the medal for Liz, the Commander's Public Service Award, or even getting the pennant finalized. So Alexa, thank you for everything that you have done. You're an incredible officer, incredible leader, and I cannot wait to see where you go in the future. And along with Isaac and John, you guys have, all three of you have very bright futures ahead of you, and keep pressing. The Air Force knows that, or the Space Force knows that, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for all three of you. JD, thank you for narrating today's event. JD, as an exchange officer, you wouldn't know the fact, besides his accent, that he wasn't part of the American military, because he got here from day one and just jumped right into Delta 10 and accomplishing the mission sets that we've accomplished. And when an opportunity arose for the OLA chief, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Land, to go work OTTI, JD immediately stepped up as the acting OL chief, and then when 10th FDF stood up, you became the acting squadron commander until Ricey could get here. So JD, has been a pleasure serving with you. I wish you nothing but the best, and I will tell you, when your Air Commodore, now Air Vice Marshal, said on your report, start with future UK Space Command commander, which is a 2-star position, and work your way back. Doesn't surprise me. I very much expect to see him as a general officer in the Royal Air Force here sometime in the future. So thank you so much for everything you have done. So to the Air Force Academy Band, thank you guys. You are absolutely incredible, and you bring these type of ceremonies up a notch. And hearing the wonderful music that you guys play, it never disappoints. So thank you so much for that. To Orville Harmony and to the Honor Guard, thank you guys so much for what you do. It just adds to the specialness of moments like this, not for me, but for all the different retirement ceremonies that I've had an opportunity to attend and participate in previously. So thank you guys for what you do. And Blake, thank you for the beautiful prayer. I do appreciate it. So General Corey, thank you so much, sir. There was one person in my mind that I wanted to retirement, and it was you. You've been a wonderful mentor, and I got a lot more to say about you and Amy here as I go through my remarks. But you have been a key part of where I've gotten. You gave me a lot of wings to be able to fly, and thankfully I didn't get too close to the sun and crash. But it was incredible, being under your leadership multiple times, sir, and I thank you for that. And I thank you, sir, for writing that personalized letter to General Raymond and getting me to definitely promote, because that was on the icing the cake that ensured that I made colonel, and I thank you for that, sir. So Amy, thank you for being here. It's always so good to see you. General Cantori, sir, thank you for being here. And I know you have a lot on your plate as the deputy commander with CSO here. So much is going on within STARCOM, so you being here means a lot to me. General Moore, sir, I told you at your retirement ceremony, it wasn't long before I followed you, and you look very relaxed. And I've gotten a taste of that over the last 4 weeks, a little bit. And so pretty soon you'll be seeing me wearing that, coming to these things, and it's sort of a different demeanor, but sort of so good seeing you. Chief Pogue, thank you for being here. It's always incredible seeing you. And you have taken your role at Delta 10, and you've upped it a notch as the senior enlisted leader for STARCOM, and cannot be more proud of having served with you as part of my command team. And I know you're knocking it out of the park on behalf of all Guardians here within STARCOM. So Ken, good seeing you. Shannon, thank you for being here. Ryan, thank you for being here as well. And friends and family. Let me just say this up front. I got a lot of folks here that I love, and I got a lot I want to say, and I also understand the fact that a lot of you in this room have jobs you have to go back to. And so I don't keep you here forever. But there are some folks I want to try to acknowledge as we go forward. Full disclosure, yes, General Corey mentioned it. I hope not to get too emotional. I'm saving my family for last, but he's got full carte blanche to distract me if I need to, if I start to lose it. And yeah, I have note cards. I usually don't. I like to ad lib and not use note cards, but I felt like with the gravity of today, I needed to have note cards to make sure that I said everything that I wanted to be able to say in the time that's allotted to me. I want to really get started sort of answering two questions, right? And it's sort of an unusual approach to a retirement ceremony, but I think for me, it really sums up, why I've done what I've done and for so long. And I remember when I first went into the military, there were, for my graduating class at high school, about 7 of us that ended up going into the military. And from that, that was like 7 times more than the previous 5 or 6 classes. People from Mountain Brook High School generally did not go in the military, right? And so I got a lot of questions. Hey, what brought you in the military? Why have you decided to serve? What is the appeal of serving in the military? And then, of course, as of late, once I hit 20 years, why are you still in? Because you're now working for half pay. So I want to talk a little bit about that, and it really is, I think, a good way for me to help craft my remarks as I go forward. So. As General Corey mentioned with my mom, I grew up in a hardworking family. My dad was a pulmonary physician, and he was at the hospital quite a bit. Mom was taking care of us kids. 2 boys and a girl, and she said that we were easy. I'm sure we were at times, but I'm sure at other times we were not. But we also, we're a very patriotic family. We love this country. Dad and Mom would both say, the United States is the best nation in the world, and it is an honor to have been stationed here or born in this country. And that's something I took seriously. The other aspect of it too is, timing of when you're born. The first president I really remember, I remember glimpses of the Carter administration, but the first president I really remember that really made an indelible, part of me, who I was, for Ronald Reagan. And he was always so optimistic about this nation, referred to the United States as that light on the hill, right? He really spent a lot of time praising, military men and women, and really, I think, sort of turned the tide with the military after the Vietnam War, back towards, hey, it's honorable to serve your country as a member of the military. And that inspired me. Ronald Reagan inspired me. And so I wanted to serve, right? Yeah, I knew from a very young age that for me, serving, and doing my part like previous generations had done, to include members of my own family, having an uncle that, 2 uncles that served in World War II, one lost his life. I wanted to be part, that long line of brave Americans who were willing to give up their life to maintain our freedoms, right? And when I got at home, and Ronald Reagan inspired me to do that. But how did I end up in the Air Force? So interestingly enough, sometimes you never know how young children are going to view things, right? And so my dad from time to time would take me to that local ABC store, right? I'll go with him as we run errands. And there was, in this ABC stores, he would pick up wherever he needed to pick up, that had this poster. And the poster had every aircraft, helicopter, you name it, no satellites at the time. This is late 70s, early 80s. Of the United States Air Force, right? And a lot of them were Vietnam era. There were a few ones that were coming in that were test beds, like the F-16 or the F-15, right? And I used to study that thing every time I would go in with him. And one day I came walking in with him, and the guy behind the counter pulls out this long tube, and he goes, "Here you go." And I'm like, "What is that?" He goes, "It's that poster right there." And I took it home, put it in my closet, and I was sold. I knew I wanted to be in the Air Force. Yeah.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Yeah. Right. But again, you just never know what's going to, inspire, a child. Right. And that poster, Ronald Reagan, my family, inspired me. Now, I will tell you this. I had not planned on spending 30 years in the military. That was not my plan. I was going to do, assignment maybe to get out, go back home, do some things. I toyed with medical school, followed my dad in his, footsteps, those type of things. But in reality, yes, I've got a chance to do some great things, right? I've been to some incredible locations around the world, and I've been to not so incredible locations around the world, like all of us have, right? I've been to, I was counting it up the other day, I've been to 47 states in our union, right? About 2/3 of those are either directly or indirectly related to my service in the military, right? I've got a chance to see some cool things and witness history up front, right? But that's not what kept me in the military for 30 years. What kept me in the military for 30 years was the people, bottom line. And those of that know me know I'm very passionate about people. I get my energy from them. I get energy from seeing them, succeed, seeing them do things that they thought maybe they couldn't do, but then seeing the satisfaction on their face when they, they accomplish, their mountain, they beat their mountain, and so I want to take just a few moments to talk about some folks who are special to me from different assignments. Obviously, as Gerald Corey's talked about, I started my time in 91st Space Wing up in Minot, 740th Missile Squadron. Yeah, and I tell you, and Paul, you can understand this, and Jack, you understand this both, and Chris, from being from Missouri, you take two Southern boys in particular and you put them in North Dakota, that's a little bit of a shock, right? Not only from a weather, and you coming from Pasadena, California, and it's just a different environment up there, right? In some ways, it's a hostile environment, especially from a weather perspective. I will never forget, and I just got to tell this story. When I was up there, it was either the first or second winter, and the local newscaster said that the only place in the moon Earth system that was colder than Minot at that moment was far side of the moon. And I'm like, and that's wonderful. I'm in the middle of it, right? It is, right? So, and then trust me, I started questioning global warming after that, which I do believe in climate change, but the other piece of it though, and why I was determined I was going to get out after that assignment, was this read step, do a step, eat a banana, right? And I'm like, I went to college, I'm educated, I know how to critically think, and I'm not going to come up here and tell me I can't use my brain, right? And so from that perspective, I was like, okay, I'm going to do mine up. I may do one assignment after that. Part of the reason why I went to teach ROTC was to get back to my home state. But in reality, it's the people though that kept me in. It's Chris Baird, right? Chris Baird is and Jack and Paul and Dave Hansen. We came in at the same time. Chris, when he finished up his tenure in mine, I went into the B-52 community, right, and was one of the first B-52 crews that went downrange and dropped bombs in anger in Afghanistan, right? It's Jack. I'll never forget. One of my fondest memories of you is you're giving us a tour. We have a little break at Vandenberg, and you take us down to LA, to Pasadena, and you introduced me for the first time to a chili burger. And I think I had a little bit too much to drink and I dropped it on the floor. But we still ate it anyway. It was awesome. Didn't matter. I had a gut from there. So, so Dave, I tell you, you have always amazed me throughout my tenure, the things that you do, the opportunities that you have had, your athleticism. And I tell you, even though you and I have stayed in the same career field, we've had very differing paths, right, that we have taken, right? But we've always come back together at key moments, and getting a chance to serve with you as a fellow Delta commander when you were taking care of the airmen and guardians at Space Base Delta One, it was a true honor. And so thank you. And then Paul, it's been a long time since I've had a chance to talk to you, except for by email. But I tell you, even though you're LSU, we forgive you for it. But it's been great. And you have, in my mindset, you have shown very distinctly that you can make a career your own and do the things, even though they may not, be suggested, but you still make Colonel. And you got to do some wonderful things as taking care of our airmen, and then retired just a couple of years back as an Air Force officer. So thank you for being here. But for mine, it was time. I went home one over Christmas break, 1995, and I think Christmas break, I was still in college, but I had a chance to go home. I was going to see my dad, who was diagnosed with cancer, and got set up on a blind date with Liz, right, and met my baby. But the one thing I was going to do though was I was bringing her to Minot before I did anything. So I got too far in this relationship, right? Because I had watched Minot be the destroyer of marriages. And so I was not going to get married, bring her up there. And she's like, what have you done? And so she came up to see me following probably the worst blizzard we had. She literally landed. The Northwest folks said, get off the plane. We've got to turn it. Because we got out of here before this, and we had like a 3-day blizzard hit, right? And I'm like, oh God, this is not going to be good, right? It's going to be a short relationship up front. But she looked at me and she gets ready to leave. She goes, how much longer you got left up here? And I'm like, oh, here we go. I go 3 years. She goes, okay, I can do this. So, and I knew someone special. So. And that's where my eldest Trey was born as well. He's a no DAC, and I don't let him forget that, and I don't think his fiance lets him forget that either. After that, I had a chance to go to ROTC, right? And again, like I said, I wasn't intending to do 30 years. I went to teach ROTC for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want to get back to home state. I was wanting to find a job and go separate. I was back at home. Dad had passed away at this stage of the game, and help take care of my family. But the problem was the detachment had gone from 100 cadets down to 20 with one scholarship, right? And they were actually talking about putting the ROTC detachment at Samford University on the chopping block, right? Which means that Alabama would have had no officer recruiting mechanism north of Montgomery, right? Because we serviced all the way up to Huntsville and all the way down just shy of the Montgomery area, right? And I'm like, I can't let that happen. Problem was, I had too good of a time teaching, right? And also doing the things that detachments across this country should have done, which is, hey, thank you for trying to serve, but you're not cut out to be an officer in the United States Air Force, right? And I helped move cadets on instead of them becoming problem children for future commanders, right? But I had a good time doing it. I got to see places across Alabama I hadn't seen before, right? I got reacquainted with, with my family, with my in-laws, got a chance to know them better. Because the first 3 years that Liz and I were married, we were up in Minot, separated by 1,000 miles. And I loved it. So I didn't prepare myself to separate like I thought it was. And I get a phone call from AFPC. And this was a very valuable lesson from me because I realized then that you're a cog in the wheel, your butt in the seat. And I get a phone call. And actually, Dave, I think you got the same phone call. And so does Scott Trenry, because we're all teaching ROTC at the same time, doing our thing, doing very well in our respective regions, right? And I get a phone call saying, Jay, you've been on vacation for the last 3 years. It's time you go get a real job. We're going to send you to the schoolhouse, right, out of Vandenberg. Another AETC job. And by the way, it's going to keep me in nukes, and I don't want that, right? And so, but fortunately, I had some incredible leadership at that time with Gary Pond, who had just made 06. The Air Force ROTC commander, even the AFOS commander were like, these are our number one officers or captains at the time, and AFPC is treating them like this. And what they're going to do, and I think it's my detachment commander, Sam Wilding, that said it best to both Colonel McClatty and to the ROTC commander was, they're going to leave here and they're going to say, we worked hard. We weren't retired on active duty. We did what we were asked. We were rewarded for it with good OPRs and awards, but yet we weren't taken care of when we returned back to our communities, right? And that resonated with the ROTC and AFOS commander, and they worked it to get me to the 1st Space Control Squadron in my first assignment, in space. And oh, by the way, I, from then on, worked my assignments. I knew a year in advance where I was going. They told you not to do that. I'm like, I'm not trusting the system again. And I did. And typically, but fortunately, I've met incredible people and have conversations with them. We would have a pretty good idea that, hey, we're going to fight to try to get you in our organization. 1st Space Control Squadron, got reunited with Paul. Paul was in the Space Analysis Center that I get a chance to go lead later on before he left to go be, it was Colonel Jerks executive. So, but it started out as an orbital analyst, space battle manager, then came a flight commander, and then eventually got picked up to be the space analysis chief, which ended up getting renamed, became the commander of the support flight. So I was responsible about a third of the squadron at that time. And I also met a guy named Lieutenant Colonel Scott Shepard. He was the first of 2 squadron commanders I had at the first base. The other one was a guy named Villain Vidmar. And Jack, you were there at first base, came in probably after a year I got there. And I had the instructor prefix, the K prefix for those that haven't had a chance to serve in the military, at least the Air Force or Space Force. I gained the Air Education Training Command T prefix, but I didn't have the Q, meaning an evaluator, right? And I knew I got to become an evaluator. That's what I need to go do in order to sort of complete my resume. I was coming up for major, and I wanted, I felt good about making major. I mean, I should have, it was 99% promotion rate that year. And I hadn't done anything illegal. But still, I wanted to make sure that I had the best package. So I went to Colonel Shepard and I said, "Sir, I want to be your DOV chief." DOV is the squadron level, evaluation. And he looked at me and he said, "Jay, I hear what you're saying, but no." He said, "You've got a unique ability to go in, size up an organization, make changes that benefit the organization, and I need you to go into the Space Analysis Center. It's fallen some hard times. It's got a critical role in what we do in terms of maintaining situational awareness in space." And I wasn't having it because he was absolutely right. It had a horrendous reputation at this stuff. Paul, when you were there, it was good. It went downhill pretty quick after that. And so I got in there. When your boss is asking you to do something directly, you don't say no, right? You salute smart and you move out. And even though I was disappointed I wasn't going to be the DOV chief, the boss, Colonel Shepard, asked me to do this, and I was going to do it. And sure enough, I got it. And he had mentioned something in me that I did not recognize in myself. And so, long story short, he puts me in the Space Analysis Center. About 6 weeks later, I come back with a plan, not even thinking about it, right? To say, "Hey, sir, this is the things that I want to do in the organization." He goes, "Every bit of it's approved, and I told you." I'm like, "Sir?" He goes, "I told you. You know how to size up an organization." And I got thinking about it. I was like, "Yeah, you absolutely did." And it was also that point that I got a chance to meet General Hamill, the 14th Air Force commander. I briefed him on some things. I briefed General Shelton when he was the 14th Air Force commander. I didn't lose my head after briefing him, which was a positive thing. And I got to know Colonel Jurek a lot better, to the point that Colonel Jurek came to me, actually came to then Villain Vidmar, because Scott Shepard had left, and said, "I want Jay to be the detachment commander. What detachment does he want?" And I started looking into the 4 GI detachments at the time, but the ones that I was eligible for were Socorro, New Mexico, Maui, and then of course Diego Garcia. Maui didn't have a good reputation for people getting promoted, so I don't want that. Socorro, I didn't really want to go into any further into the desert, but Diego Garcia sounded like a good opportunity to me. And the advice I received was it's also the epicenter for our deployed forces. And so I took that opportunity and went to Diego Garcia. And that's where I got a chance to meet Wayne McGee, who even though I was selected by Colonel Jurek, I worked for Colonel McGee, who was the 21st Ops Group commander at the time. And in fact, sir, yesterday I had a dinner for my family. And Liz and Megan did a wonderful slideshow, and you're quite a few of those slides as part of the change of command out there for Det 2. So I will tell you this, having worked for Colonel McGee, right? He gave me the clearest guidance I've ever had. We had some things happen right prior to me taking the flag that I then had to take care of. And he was getting ready to get back on the plane, head back to Singapore. He said, "Jay, lead your detachment." He said, "That's what I need you to do. I need you to lead this detachment," right? And I'm like, "Yes, sir, I got it." Now, for me, I felt like that this was the only time I was going to get a chance to command anything. So therefore, I was going to take advantage of it, right? I was also 12 hours of him, right? So I'm like, I better be very comfortable with my decision-making processes, or become very, very comfortable with them. And I think, sir, there was only one time you questioned anything, and it was because I didn't report an outage, ops cap. But then when you realized it was during the daylight hours and being an optical telescope, we can't operate in the daytime. He's like, all right, got it. You're good. But I will never forget. I got to tell a quick story that involves Liz and Colonel McGee. Even though Colonel McGee doesn't know this. I had convinced Liz when I got selected for Diego. I had convinced Liz to stay in Colorado Springs. We had a house that we liked. Trey had just finished or was in second grade or going into second grade. Alex was in preschool. Megan was a little tiny thing. And 2 years old, or not quite 2 yet. And so I convinced her to stay in Colorado Springs because I was thinking I was going to, I'm a major at this stage, and I'm going to come back and work in Building 1, right? And so when March 31st, 2006, so I left September 2005, was out there until September 2006, and Colonel McGee calls me, and it is noon my time, which means it's midnight his time. And I was over in the maintenance bay. We're trying to figure, we were having a humidity problem. Go figure, Diego Garcia, right? That was affecting our CCD chips. And we were trying to figure out how do we further dry out this so we can get the best resolution that we can possibly get of the things that we've been tasked to track. And he calls me, and I get to think, hey, Major Fulmer, Colonel McGee on the line, please pick up. So I immediately run back to my office. And I'm thinking in my mind, why is Colonel McGee calling me at midnight his time? Like, have I done something? Am I about to get fired? Is there something going on? And he calls me up, and I answer the phone. Sir, how are you? He's like, hey, Jay, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I got your assignment. Sir, where am I going in Air Force Space Command? Oh, no, you're not going to Air Force Space Command. I'm not. No, you're going to Pentagon. Well, immediately what flooded through my mind was the fact that I had asked my wife to stay on the premise that I was probably going to go to Air Force Space Command. And now she had to sell the house, go find a house in DC, get the house packed up. Oh, by the way, she's got a 2-year-old, she's got a preschooler, and she's got a second grader, right? And I'm like, oh God, right? But I didn't let Colonel McGee know that. I didn't let you know, sir. I played poker over the phone, but then I said after I hung up with him, I said a quick prayer. I picked up the phone, I called Liz, and I said, baby, this is what's going on. We're going to DC. She's like, okay. I don't think you slept the rest of the night. Yeah. So she started looking for places to live. And fortunately, I got a chance to come back and help her move. We got a chance, before I had to go back out some time off the island, and got her moved and settled. And then mom and other family came in and got her settled into the house before I returned towards the end of September 2005. But yeah, sir. So I probably never, many times that you and I talked, even then and pre, I probably never told you that story. But yeah, all good, sir. The air staff was a wonderful opportunity, right? And I learned a lot, and that's where I got exposed. And I was only there for right a year before I went to National Defense Intelligence College. But that's where I got exposed to the requirements generation business. That was ground C2 requirements, interestingly enough, but in A5I, which ended up being repurposed for, I think it's A5S or A5RS or something like that after I left. But it exposed me to requirements and the importance of writing requirements and getting requirements right for our acquisitions team. Went to school, and then like I hadn't, I really think the personnel system said, hey, Fulmer's in DC. He's only done 1 year on the air staff, which we all know, those of you who've been in Pentagon know that once you get the meat hooks in you, you're going to be there for longer than a year. So I came back to Joint Staff J33 National Military Command Center. I was on the Marine team. There you go. Sergeant Lee was on the comm, not when I was there, after me, but he's part of the communications guy on the Marine team. But you're absolutely right. It was a hectic 3 years. I swear I aged 6 years in that 3-year assignment, but it was absolutely incredible. First day on the job, literally first day on the job, Russia, Georgia crisis takes place. I am sitting in the room with Secretary Gates, with Admiral Mullen, General Cartwright. I'm fly on the wall. on the phone to Secretary of State Condi Rice and Vice President Cheney. And Vice President Cheney's talking about, here's our October surprise. And this is 2008 timeframe. So the Bush administration is winding up. There's going to be a new president, no matter what happened in the presidential election, whether it's going to be President Obama or John McCain, of course, ended up being President Obama, right? And here I'm going as a major going, oh my God, how have I ended up here? But, it was an opportunity to learn, right? And to meet some incredible leadership from our joint partners, Major General Greg Sturdivant, who's online. Those of you who've heard me talk, General Sturdivant helped me get squadron command. He was frustrated with the Air Force Space Command because he's like, it's ridiculous that you continually rack and stack extremely high on the command candidate list, but you're not getting picked up because you're out away from the flagpole. And so he worked it. He was friends with Lieutenant General Fig Newton, who was basically the Air Force Director of Staff at the Pentagon at the time. He said, you need to get Jay above top 10. And here's what you need to do. And guess what? General Sturdivant did that. I was number 8 that year. I couldn't be ignored. And I got 50th OSS, right? And it was because of him. It was a Marine that helped me get to that. If I hadn't had that happen, I would have met you, sir, and had the great opportunities and experiences I've had with you and Amy and the team. But other people like Lamar Dubberly and Brad Arthur and Gunnery Sergeant Bill Jansen, who I'm very proud of because he ended up making master guns, and very proud of everything that he has done, since our time on the Marine team. Another thing too is, Haiti. We talked about doing a T-shirt after the Haiti crisis because President Obama told Admiral Mullen that this was not going to be his Katrina, and Admiral Mullen was going to make sure that didn't happen. And so he, the lightsaber came out multiple times, but we survived, and we almost did T-shirts that said "I survived the lightsaber," and going forward from that. And then my final day on the Joint Staff, we just at least found out where Osama bin Laden was. We started planning. I wasn't there for the fulfillment of that incredible mission set, but when President Obama came walking down that hall to announce the OSB's death, I was like, damn right, right? I knew it was coming. So incredible opportunity. After that, got picked up to be the 21 OVGV chief. Incredible opportunity. Reacquainted with 21st Space Wings. Mission got re-blued in space, so to speak. And just absolutely loved it, and then came out as the 50th OSS commander, which, I will tell you, for those that know me, I honestly believe that God has a plan for every single one of us. And to me, that's extremely important because sometimes when you have things in front of you and you don't know how they're going to turn out, if you trust in Him, He will get you where you need to be. And so I basically had, my prayer was, Lord, I want to own command, and I want to go to 6 Swiss. Right, but commanding was more important. Right, I didn't get picked up for 6 Swiss. I think Walt Jackham that year got picked up for 6 Swiss. But I tell you, the 50th OSS was tailor made for my personality, and I got a chance to meet some incredible people like John Pake, people like Ryan Skilling, Adam Howland, Nick Summerman, Darren Williams sitting back there, who was my superintendent at the time, along with, I think Mark Perkins was before you, and then you came in, and together, you were a great command teammate with me, and we were able to do some incredible things going forward. And we did. We were able to start making changes, and it wasn't me that did it. It was Ryan. It was John. It was Nick Summerman. It was Adam. It was these incredible captains that were coming up. And Ryan, in your case, Ryan, where are you? I saw you come in. So yeah, you were a first lieutenant, right? And you were in my bullseye, because I had just come in and as the OGV chief and done a crew force management inspection of your flight, even though it wasn't your flight. And I knew we had an inspection coming up and we were not going to fail. And I met you and I'm like, okay, we're in good hands. And sure enough, because of Ryan Skilling's leadership, 0 CFM efforts that year, during the crew CUI. And so it wasn't me. I just gave them the sort of thought processes of what we needed to do, and they took it beyond anything I could have ever imagined. And that to me was absolutely incredible, seeing that. It really enforced to me, just how important it is. Number one, you provide good guidance and you get out of the way of your folks, right? And I had some great execs too. Mike McCormick, right? M2 Junior, as we referred to him, took good care of me as my executive officer, and Even though I'll tell you, Mike, I want to tell a story, right? So one of the things John Pake used to do was he would do Christmas videos, and he would come up with a theme. And so one of the, we're at Christmas, I think it was my second Christmas party. And next thing you know, he plays the video, right? And I've done my part, where I see a couple folks, including M2 Junior, dancing, in my office with my coffee mug, right? And the next day I come up to him, and look, dude, I was not upset. I thought it was funny as heck, but I was gonna give you a hard time. I come in, I said, hey, just so you know, you never touch another man's coffee mug. Period story, right? And he's like, right. And unfortunately, I think it was like 3 days later, it fell on the floor and broke, but it was all good. But that squadron was tailor-made. And it was also where I got a chance to meet General Corey. He came in replacing Colonel Ross, and it was absolutely incredible. And when I told him what I wanted to do, I was good because he got more and more and more excited the more I talked. And I fed off of that, and I'm like, okay, we're in a good situation here. But it's also there I met some of some of my best friends, from military service, Steve and Kathy Finn, and their wonderful 3 children, Aaron and Rachel Gibson, and they're 2 wonderful boys. Tommy Colvin, who've been up in Minot. We got, you were Leven's, is that right? I'm trying to remember. Yeah. We got reunited up there and from Minot, and Jen and Tom St. Marie, just incredible, Lynn and Ryan Plunkett. Just incredible group of us that, it really became a home, and our kids were able to go wherever they wanted. They had freedom they never experienced before because we were on a base that was guarded by some of our finest, airmen security forces, and they could go do what they wanted to go do, right? We had Pink Flamingo parties that allowed us to get together that were absolutely, incredible. Mike and Tracy Manor, just incredible people. It was an incredible time to be at Schriever, to meet some wonderful people out there. But I want to say a few things about General and Corey and Amy. I tell you, by this time I'm about 18, 19 years service, and so I've gone through a lot of wing commanders. Some of them I could tolerate, most of them I didn't really care for. The first day I meet General LaCory, then Colonel LaCory, is his change of command. He comes walking out, and maybe I think you were with me. We were getting ready for the change of command, and he stopped me and said, hey, Jay, how are you? I had never met you before, and I knew they'd given you a binder, right, and had probably my bio. But the fact that you did that, I'm like, this is going to be different, right? And the way you led that base, the morale skyrocketed through the roof. And you and Amy together as command, partnership, and winning the 2015 O'Malley Award, and that was so well deserved, right? For everything that you did, for the local community, for the base, and for all the airmen that were assigned, both whether they were in the 50th Space Wing or they were tenant organizations. So, he elevated me. We were trying to get me to school. I was on the alternate list. For some reason that year, again, maybe it was God intervening, I didn't get picked up. I didn't come off the school list, right? The alternate list. Every year prior, for like last 5 years prior, we had, we exhausted not only the primary, but the alternate list didn't happen that year. So he makes me the NOG deputy commander. And I got a chance to work with Jason Sutton. And I get some cyber stink on me, and which was absolutely an incredible opportunity. And then of course he and Jason are like, hey Jay, you're a mentor to the squadron commanders. But we got a CCRI, I think it was CCRI that is coming back, and you need to fix this, right? And I spent a lot of hours understanding how cyber works, working very close with Dave Case, who had taken over from Lynn, to try to get that base ready for a CCRI. And again, it wasn't me doing the work. It was Lieutenant Colonel Case, or Major Case back then, I think it was, and his folks. I was just there to provide moral support. But it was just, I learned so much. And now as I'm entering the civilian, workforce, the one thing that people seem to be focusing in on is my time at the NOG, even though I was only there for 12 months. And so it's been very interesting, some of the opportunities. But thank you, sir. I really do appreciate that. But he did finally get me to school, Eisenhower, and there I went back to the Joint Staff, J6, And those of you here, Blade, Nikki, Biggs, that's soul sucking assignment right there. I mean, that was, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have a freaking heart attack. I was going to time and grade waiver, and I was going to retire because like I am a colonel being treated like I'm a cadet, right? And it was not fun, right? But part of it too for me was I was trying to take all the spirits because I didn't want my people affected by it because I need them focused on the mission. And in fact, I think it was about a week after I took over as the division chief from Bradley that we had the Nunn McCurdy breach for OCX, and that was a lot of fun. And you know, Biggs is working it. You know, we're working hard. He's having to brief. You know, then ATL Frank Kendall, Secretary Kendall. The sensuality, the national security. You know, and we were successful in keeping the program alive. I'm not sure that was such a good thing because the program still sucks and it's billions over and they need to kill it. So there's nothing else out there. But it was. And again, it for me, the team here is people. I got a chance to work with, right? They got a chance to do things. And then 2018, as the boss mentioned, you know, I got a chance to come back here to Colorado Springs, be the A59 deputy director. You know, and it's incredible. Bubba Ayers, even though you're Clemson, yeah, I love you. It was great working with you. So Bubba and I obviously had a good rivalry because back during that time frame, Alabama and Clemson seemed to be the ones always playing for the national championship. We win one year and they come in and whip us the next year and then it reverse. Right. So we would do things to each other's property. Right. And so he actually made the mistake of leaving his cat card in the computer. And Shane, you masterminded this. And we turned around and we put the Alabama logo. So whenever he sent an email, it was Roll Tide, right? Yeah, it was awesome. And I don't think that lasted long. You either saw it or somebody came to you and goes, "What, you switch allegiance this year?" Or I don't remember what happened, but it didn't last very long. But we were just excited about the fact that you had made that mistake of leaving your CAC and your computer unlocked, and we could take advantage of it going forward. But yeah, we did. We had the Nerf wars. I think they're still finding Nerf bullets all over the place. But you know, Bubba, Shane, you know, Lisa Criswell, Dan Crouch, you know, an incredible front office team. You know, Brittany Morton, who was the junior exec, absolutely incredible. You know, front office team, and they had incredible division chiefs, right? Incredible folks, you know, such as Rob, you know, who's taking care of business as a Spartan. Made me an honorary Spartan, which I'm still proud of to this day. You know, JB, Abo, you had Doug Lee and U-Bull there in the 5'9", helped me understand lessons learned, helped me understand Storm, right? That paid dividends, you know, when I became the Delta 10 commander and had stood up because I had an understanding from there. And then also got reunited, you know, with John Pake. You know, and again, it goes back to, you know, just being blessed to be able to mentor some incredible officers, incredible, you know, Americans, because what we are, we're Americans who are patriotic, love this nation, and want to see the Constitution. Yeah, and we have a lot of division in this country. Got it. You know, we got, you know, but the fact is we can have division and still be strong because of the Constitution of the United States. And John had called me up and said, I've been offered to be the ATC exec for the 3-star. And I said, don't do it. I said, I need to get you back. You know, you've been back-to-back ATC jobs. So you got non-volled after being at Diego Garcia, that too. And under Rock Miller, who was 21 OG at the time. And he was getting non-volled to teach RTC at Notre Dame. But in typical John Pake fashion, absolutely excelled. Then he gets picked up to be the 3A first TRSSDO. So at least he's back in nav space, but not really, still ATC. And I convinced him to come be a deputy division chief under Wyatt Miller. And I said, I told him, I said, John, we're going to work hard. I talked to General McCord. We're going to try to get you, man. I can't promise you anything, but we're going to do our best to make it happen, right? And I said, I just need you to trust me. And he said, sir, let's get me, and I would go back to the Springs. And of course, then when he said that, we made it happen. And I'm like, oh shit, what happens if I don't come through, right? And so I tell you, one of the greatest memories I've had of our time there was he looked at me when the command list came out, and John was selected to be the 50th Op Support Squadron. So now 2 units, he's following me. And he said, Jay, I want you to go down and make that notification to John. And so we did. So I got Wyatt to get Ioka inside, and we made that announcement, and I was like, okay, we're good. I was able to follow through on what I told him I would try to do, and of course he went out there and absolutely crushed it. So, so after General Corey left the 5-9, General Purdy came in. I put in retirement paperwork, and it was approved. There was a point in September 2020 where the colonel's group came down and said, if you put your paperwork in, we'll let you plan out 15 months, which was unheard of. Right. So it's 1 January 2022. Perfect. It's time to go do something different. Right. And so we were moving. So he had left. General Whiting was going to be the spot commander. General Dickinson basically had kicked General the old ASP team. Once General Raymond left out of the front offices, he took it over, and the 5-9 office space became the spot commander space. And so Liz is up there. So Megan's 17th birthday, and we're moving. And I, being the deputy, really at this point I'm the director, because General Purdy is more focused on the 8 piece, because we had recombined for a very brief 5, 8, 9, 8 being the money piece. And he said, so Liz come up to help us move. I'm in meetings all day, and afterwards we're going home, and she goes, Jay, I know your retirement's approved for 1 January 2022, but some strange things started happening today, and people came and talked to me, people I don't even know. And so she laid it out, and I was like, I need to have a conversation. I probably need to go talk to General Burke, because she was the 3 at the time. And Liz was like, I think that'd be a good idea. And so I went and talked to General Burke. Now, guys, General Burke doesn't mince words, right? She says it as is. And so when I walked in her office, she goes, what do you want to talk to me about? And I said, ma'am, I'm retired. She goes, yeah, I know. She had, why the F are you doing that? We got plans for you. And I'll go, okay, ma'am, that's great, but I need to know what those plans are. So, well, you're about to become the 5-9 director, because we're splitting it apart. General Purdy is going to go to be the 45th Space Wing commander. The 8 is going to be separate again, and you're going to be the first 06 director of 5-9, because General Corey's old billet is going to be the STARCOM 2-star billet. Man, that's great. That's wonderful. But I'm not retiring until 1 January 2022, so I can go do that job. It's no problem, because we're going to be Delta Commander. Man, the list just came out, and I'm not on that list. She goes, I know, but you will be. She goes, we're not ready to release the STARCOM Delta Commanders yet. We're still too far away from the OCR, the organizational change request, from being approved. And she goes, Jay, things change. I understand that, but trust me. And what is one more year if something happens and you don't come out? Sure enough, March of 2021 comes out, and I'm on the command list for Delta 10. And not only do I get to be a Delta commander, but I get to be a part of an organization that has never existed before, right? And oh, by the way, and Chief Pogue here will validate this, we started with 8 people. We were a Delta of 8 people. Now, we had like 17 contractors, which were very important to what we were doing, but 8 government, military. And so we had to make some very quick decisions, of how are we going to get after the mission set. And we decided the bureaucracy of a Delta we'll get to, but right now I need the folks, in their limited capacity, I don't need them focused on the bureaucracy, I need them focused on the mission, right? Until we can grow the organization. And we did that. And I'll tell you, that was a great assignment. 3 years, General Bratton came to me, it was March or April of 2022, said, Jay, I want you to do a 3rd year. I'm like, so it takes me to 30. That's perfect. He goes, okay. He went and got that approved from General Thompson, who was the vice chief of space operations at the time, and got a chance to do it. And I feel better about doing the 3rd year, because I felt like the Colonel de Silva, I gave her a Delta. Right. Prior to that, it was not a Delta. It was a conglomeration of units that trying to get after a mission set. Right. But we were able to start putting processes and business rules and different things in place that helped us start congealing as a Delta. And now she's absolutely knocking it out of the park, as I know she would, and taking the Delta to the next level. So before I get to family real quick, the hardest part of this, one of the stories I used to tell, I always tell at retirement ceremonies that talk about the Air Force, Space Force, and it's a train. It's a machine. It's unfeeling. It is going from one location to the next, and its focus is the next location. And every so often it'll stop, right? And it'll onboard large numbers of people who will, get on, whether it's RTC, OTS, esophagus, BMT graduations. And then it'll stop, from time to time, and it'll let off one, maybe two people and their families, right? And those are the people that are separating or retiring. Today, my train is coming to the station, and I'm getting off. I'm getting off with a lot of great memories of some incredible human beings that I've worked with over the last 30 years, right? And that train here momentarily is going to pick up speed and leave, right? And it's not going to look back at me or my family, but the people inside will. And that's what means so much to me. So just some thank yous real quick to folks, and a couple gifts I want to give out here momentarily. I've got, two of my best friends from high school here, Jeff Eubanks and Trey Cole. Danny Mendel couldn't be here today, but you guys throughout my 30-year career have been there everywhere with me. And I'm looking forward to listening. I'm moving back to Alabama and getting reacquainted. But you've been there, whether it's change commands, it's promotions, doesn't matter. You've always been there. And I appreciate you guys more than you'll know. To Doug and Debbie Sullivan. Doug was one of the first people I met when I got to Minot was Doug. He's from the western parts of Virginia, actually near your location, Kayla, in Winchester. And he became a spiritual mentor for me. And I also had the distinct pleasure of taking Doug through his commander upgrade, and we became good friends. And Doug finished his time up in Minot and crossed over into the Chapel Corps and did wonderful things there. But Doug also married Liz and I 28 years ago, right? And will always have a very special place in my heart. All right, flowers. Yeah. Yeah. Roll Tide. Yeah. Yeah, that's Liz's. Yeah. To my brother Gavin, my sister Rob's, Philip, Brooklyn and London. I'm so proud of you guys. I got the best siblings in the world. And what you guys do every day inspires me. Robin is a nurse. She hadn't practiced in the big. She's at home doing what taking care of the next generation who are growing into incredible young ladies. And I couldn't be more proud of you. Philip's PA. He travels quite a bit, goes into locations that are hurting for medical care. And so he spends time away from his family, but providing huge medical assets and stuff for folks. Gavin is a music composer. I'm waiting for him to get his big break, but some of the music that I've heard him compose, absolutely rivals John Williams and Danny Elfman and some of these others. So, and I hope at some point, that will get noted going forward. To Mark and Charlotte, Mark, I love you. You're my father-in-law. When you get married, you're just not marrying somebody. You bring in their entire family with them, and I really got lucky with you and Charlotte, and thank you for everything being here. And I know Charlotte would be here if she could. Bev and Blake, I love you guys. Bev has Liz's twin sister, Bev. And she has put on more miles beyond Liz, moving us from here to DC back. It just she's always there to help, and get what we need to get done. If we've got something going on, when I had an opportunity, the boss decided I need to go to Australia in 2020, to do some international partnering. Bev came up and took care of the kids, and Liz and I were able to go. It's Liz's first TUI with me from an international perspective, and we were very comfortable with her. We knew our kids were safe and in good hands, and so thank you, Beth, for everything you've done for my family and I throughout 20 years of marriage. As we go forward, Mark and Casey, I love you guys. I'm so grateful for all the things that you guys have done, and your humor. I tell you, I love it when I get with you because I know I'm going to laugh and have a good time. And thank you for your support over the years, and it's meant a lot to both Liz and I. To my extended family and Harriet, thank you for all that you do. Coming up and visit us in DC, being there for promotion to major and lieutenant colonel and now my retirement. And I love you, and couldn't be happier to have you here. To Peggy, Liz's aunt, but I've adopted her as my own. She's everywhere, and I love you. And you've been there, steadfast support, and we've had some great times. And I tell you, we need to reinvigorate that Jessica birthday thing, and come out and celebrate her birthday with it, because I that is some of the best memories I've had going forward. But you've been there for Liz and the kids, and you've been there for me with key milestones. So thank you. Rusty and Susan. Rusty couldn't be here today. He was supposed to make it, but he had to have hip surgery, and he was told not to travel. Understood, but thank you. Yeah, Susan, for being here. And I unfortunately, you and Rusty are the part of the family I don't know as well, just because I haven't been around you as much. But that's one of the things I look forward to getting back to Alabama for, hopefully in the relatively near future. And so I can get to know the aunt and uncle that Liz has gotten to know, while she's growing up and going forward. And of course, Becky, thank you for being here. It's great seeing you. First time in Colorado, if I understood right, at least in Colorado Springs. So what a great opportunity to be here, and thank you. And Jessica, Hayden, and Ian, I love you guys. We've had some great times. Jess, you're always there, helping us, supporting us. And it was so nice, Hayden and Ian, you guys being in DC when we were there, going forward, and knowing that we had family close by, and sometimes we'd see you pop over and be at the pool and having a few drinks, or going to the Sovereign. Yeah, which was a good time. Enjoyed that. And so thank you guys very much. To my immediate family. Yeah. So Kaylee, I know you're not yet part of the family, but you're getting close. And I tell you, you have transformed Alex's life, right? And this is Liz transformed mine. And thank you for everything. All right, Alex. Alex. All right, to my youngest son, middle child. So who's still very much a kid at heart, and I had to tell him, I said, don't open this up during the ceremony. You can wait until we get home. But I love you, son. I'm very proud of you, and keep pressing, doing things that you're doing. That's a small bag. Yeah. All right, the Kayla, who is, well, for all practical purposes, but daughter-in-law, she and Trey are getting married in February. So you guys will get a chance to experience them. So Kayla is a certified chef, a certified baker. She has a bachelor's in business and a master's in business with finance, right? And she got in last Saturday and made the cakes that you guys will get to eat tonight or this afternoon, and they were absolutely delicious. And so it's a small token of my appreciation for you and all you do for Trey and our family. Thank you. My eldest son, Trey, don't get to see as much as I want to. But you're thriving in your chosen career field. Could not be more proud of you. Keep pressing, keep doing the things that you do. And, Mom and I are, hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll get closer to you. You know, especially once you start having grandbabies. Yeah, 'cause we're going to be there. You know, the nice thing about being retired is a second job, right? You can afford the things that you could not afford for your own children and spoil the grandbabies. But son, I love you and thank you for everything. All right, and my youngest child, my daughter, who came as part of the third assignment. You know, Alex came when I was teaching RTC, so he's the only native Alabamian here of the group besides Liz and I. Megan is a Coloradan, came when I was at First Space Control Squadron. But Megan, I love you. You've added so much light to your mom and I. Megan is a senior at Sanford University. Talk about how things go full circle. I graduated from Sanford RTC unit. I went back to teach Sanford. I was there from 99 to 2002. Was already here, and when Megan was born, and yet God led her to Sanford, where she's studying secondary education, mathematics, and you know, right now planning on being a math teacher, which this country so desperately needs. But at the same time, I told her, I said, the world is your oyster with a math degree. You can do anything you want, right? And so, you know, we'll see what she ends up doing. But she's a senior now. I'm very proud of you, baby. So. All right, and to my wife, you know, being a spouse, military spouse, isn't the easiest thing. You know, there are long hours where, you know, in this case, her husband is gone working mission sets on behalf of the country. You know, year-long deployment, multiple TDYs gone. You know, a unexpected trip to Afghanistan after being gone 6 weeks previously for training. You know, she struggled raising 3 kids, and yet also helped, you know, where I needed help going forward. And you know, she, real quick, she, you know, we got planned multiple Christmas parties. You know, 3 times key spouse mentor, PCOSS, A59 and S59, and then Delta 10. Just absolutely incredible woman. And baby, I'm very grateful to be your husband. I love you with all my heart. And these flowers are, you know, I know I've done some other things, and we're gonna do some other, I'll do some other things for you in the future, but I love you and thank you for everything I've done this. And yes, she was very much, you hit the nail on the head, very much a part of that decision to pull the retirement paperwork. If she had said no, there would have been no, I would not have been the Delta 10 commander, right? But she didn't. And she's like, you got to go do this. I know this is what you've been wanting to be able to command one more time before you leave. And she said yes, and she got her full weight behind it, and I couldn't. I thank you now. So real quick, because I know I've gone way too long. What's next? Don't know. I got a lot of things in the fire. I know I need to take a knee. I've been going hard for many years now, and I'm looking forward to taking that knee. It's funny, a lot of companies out there are like, hey, we were interested in you. You want to do skill bridge? Nope, not interested in skill bridge. I need to take a knee, and so I'm looking forward to that. I'm having to have hip replacement surgery on my left hip next month, so I'll do that, get myself back up to speed. But it won't be long before you see me pop up somewhere as we go forward, and I look forward to keeping you guys apprised of what's happening. But this is a mission set in the community that I love too dearly. And you guys are going to see me somewhere being a part, whether it's OTTI or working in SPOC or working in NSDC. You guys are going to see me pop up somewhere, continue to be part of the fight, right? And to use the skill sets that I gained over the last 30 years to continue to advance a mission set across the United States Space Force that I think is so important. So, you know, but bottom line for me, I've trusted God throughout my life, and you know, I had it on my notes to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I sort of passed right through that. But He has guided me over the last 30 years, and He's going to continue to guide me, and I know that, and that gives me a measure of solace, and that will land where I need to land. So thank you guys for being here. I went longer than I wanted to. I had a lot I wanted to say to you guys. Thank you for sharing this time with Liz and I. And it means a lot to us and my family. And anything I can do to help support you guys moving forward, all you got to do is let me know. So thank you, and God bless you.
Please be seated. Now, Chaplain Sullivan will lead us in a closing benediction.
As Jay told you a few moments ago, I had the privilege of him being my very first deputy commander. I've been watching you for a long, long time. Pre-Liz, wow. And I was so thankful for that opportunity to watch this man as God enabled him to do great things through the last 30 years. I know, Paul, you had to clean up the mess he created after, Paul was my deputy, I think, after Jay was. But having said all of that, I found through the years as a chaplain, the best messages that I ever gave started with "in conclusion." Would you pray with us as we trust God to continue to bless this phenomenal family in the next chapter that he has in store for them? Our great, giving, and gracious God, we are so thankful for the opportunity to gather here today and to rejoice over what you have already accomplished through your servant, Jay Fulmer. Lord, we pray as we conclude this gathering today, that you would continue to go before them, that you would guide them, and that you would bless them beyond all measure. Lord, we know that indeed you have plans for them that they would prosper. We thank you for that. We thank you for the way that each of our lives have been so enriched by our association, by our relationships with Jay and his family. So Lord, watch over them, guide them, and bless them. Keep them, because we know, yes, the best is yet to come. Lord, all of this we thank you for in the precious name of my Lord and my Savior, Jesus Christ. And everybody said, amen.
So in conclusion, thank you, Chaplain Sullivan. This concludes today's ceremony. Thank you all for joining us and celebrating this momentous occasion. We extend our congratulations to Colonel Fulmer and his family and wish them well as they enjoy retirement and, of course, a smoked old fashioned, sir. A receiving line will form in the back of the room, followed by a reception over in the corner. In keeping with tradition, please stand for the playing of the Air Force song, followed by the Space Force song, and have a wonderful Space Force day.
Give her the cut! Give her the cut! Down we die, starting a flame truck. Off with one, off with road. You live in pain, or go down in flames. Hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. Guardians beyond the
So true.
There's no limit to our sky. Standing by
I think that's me done, sir. That's me done. Finally, yeah. Worded out. Yeah. Is it London? Hello, I'm James. Hey, nice to meet you. I love your name. I'm looking forward to trying these cakes now.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Really good baker.
Yeah, you don't have to tempt me. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's really sweet. Thank you.
Great job.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, I'll try. Yeah, it's good to be here.